Okay, then. Oh, I'm live. Hey, I tried to do a boot camp for solo travel earlier today, and there was some tech problems. I expect this is going to work because I'm doing it on my phone. I've had success with my phone. So I'm going to jump right into it, and you can ask questions. What I'm going to cover today is here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover choosing a country, how long your flight should be. How long your trip should be. Then I'm going to go into flights and how to get good prices on flights and how to search for flights. And let me check my information. I'll cover long haul flights and then we'll start to talk about hotels and apartments. So, and money. Let me know if you can hear me if you're there, because I'd love to see who's on here. Let's see. Okay. Let me know if you're here in the chat. Chat is on. Okay. Sorry, just trying these buttons. Okay. So, first things first, how long is your trip going to be? That's going to be determined by your budget and where you're going. So, I can recommend right now the most low cost place is Cambodia, Thailand, and India. So if you're going to any of those three, you're not going to spend much money if you're careful and want to do it more like a long-term traveler. So you're not going to be staying in expensive hotels. You're not going to be eating out every day. Although you actually can eat out every day in Thailand because the street food is amazing and it's a very clean country. So you can always count on. Hi, Judy. Thanks for coming over. Hi, DJ. I'm talking about solo travel. And I wanted to give some tips to people because a lot of people want to start solo traveling this year. So if you have questions, just put them in the chat. Hi, Anais. Thanks for coming over. I've traveled to 34 countries, and within each of those countries, I've traveled around quite a bit. So I've been traveling for 20 years, my entire midlife. So I started at 49 and I'm 69 years old now. So I've got a lot of experience. I've even traveled around the world 4 times and bought one-way tickets along the way. So I didn't have an itinerary. I just went. And there's a lot of information about going around the world I could give you too. So, definitely come over and subscribe to my channel. I also do one-on-one consultations that we can do on the phone or on Google Meet if you're planning a trip and you need specific information. But I wanted to get on here and do this right now because there were some tech problems before. Yes, I have been to Disneyland in Southern California. It was really fun. I did go once without my son, and I didn't have as much fun. I think it's more fun with children, but that's the one I went to. Oh, and then I went to the Disney one in Florida a million years ago. Hi. Yes. Okay. So I wanted to jump back in and talk about getting your trip started. So, you could actually go this year. Oh, thank you for the hearts. I love it when I see them floating up. It makes me happy. So if you want to go low cost, go to Southeast Asia or India. India outside the big cities is really a cool place to go. You can go to Rishikesh on the Ganga River, which is the birthplace of yoga, very low cost. You can stay in an ashram. You have to be careful where you eat, but you can find neighborhood places to eat usually what I do in India is I just find a couple of places that I know I can count on being clean and I'm not going to get sick. Um, I did get really sick the last time I was there, so you have to be careful. Thailand, I've never gotten sick there. And where else? Bali is also a good place to go. So I wanted to share some ideas if you wanted to do a solo trip. Well, you know what? Las Vegas is good. The only thing is it's really expensive. And I like to offer, I mean, anything outside of the United States is going to be better cost than anywhere inside the United States. I have not been to Africa yet, so I can't speak about it, but I'm thinking of maybe going to Morocco after my 3 months in Europe in 2026, because I would like to go there. That's the one continent I haven't been to besides Antarctica. And I have not been to Scandinavia. So I'm under-traveled in Europe, although I have done Mediterranean countries, Spain, Italy, and France. And I want to go back because it's really great to go there. And I go in the winter. So that's why I've stayed away from Scandinavia, because I really don't want to go in the winter. It does look beautiful, but I just don't really want to go anywhere cold in the winter. I'd rather go to the Mediterranean where it's cool and has warmer temperatures. So that's another thing you can think about when you're deciding on your trip. What kind of temperature do you want to go in? You want to be able to pick a temperature that you're happy with, a country that fits with your personality. So, don't really take everybody's advice that doesn't go with what you want to do. So, I mean, I can recommend my experience, but if it doesn't resonate with you, I would say research the places that do resonate with you. Like one of you mentioned Scandinavia. So that was something that you felt compelled to do. I don't really feel compelled in that way. I feel very compelled to go to the Mediterranean because I like that climate and I always go in the winter. So pick something that it calls to you and stick to that, because the thing about solo travel, which is so great, is you really don't have to compromise on anything. It's all by your budget and how much time you can be gone from where your home country is. So in Europe, you get 90 days, and I use all 90 days without a visa. So if you want to, oh, thank you for the hearts. I really like that. And Judy, I do not know what an isopod is. But getting back to travel, because I can help you with that. I want to share with you that when you're deciding on a country, you're looking at cost, how long you're going to be gone, and what the flights are like. So let's jump into the flights. Not every airport is created equal. So whatever city you fly into, you want to first check and make sure that you can get from the airport to where your hotel or apartment is, because not every airport has public transportation, this is the reason why I always fly to Paris when I go to Europe, because it's very easy to get from the airport to the center of Paris. And I just want it to be easy after an 11-hour flight. I want to get there, relax, go get some champagne, have a nice meal. So everybody's different, but that's what I like to do. And it's a direct flight from San Francisco to Paris. No transferring. I don't have to get off and get on. So it depends on where you're starting your trip too. So think about that, because the taxi situation isn't the same in every country. Like Mexico City, I didn't see any way to get into Mexico City from the airport without a taxi. So Europe has much better public transportation. So you want to think about that. And then you want to start looking for the flight information and what it's going to cost. Now, here's a big tip. Go in the off season, and also don't be stuck on arrival and departure dates. Thank you for the hearts. I really appreciate that. Thanks for being here. So you can save hundreds of dollars by not going on a certain day. Like, say the flight is going to be $650 one way somewhere, but then you look at the following Tuesday and it's $200 less. So have a date in mind, but when you go into Google Flights, you can see the whole month, and you want to do an incognito tab so that you don't get tracked, and then the flight amounts won't go up because you're not being tracked by targeting and advertising. So that's a big tip right there. And then as soon as you find a flight that is a good price, get it, because it might not come up again. So what I do is I take, oh, thanks for subscribing. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, everybody, listen, if you want to keep up with me, definitely go subscribe. Thank you, Judy, for subscribing. And like and share, because then the algorithm of this information and implementation on YouTube keeps coming up more often. That's what's cool about it, because it shows YouTube that you like my content. Helps me a lot. So thanks for subscribing. So the other thing about the flights is it's going to take some research, but you might change your mind. I certainly will, Judy. I don't know why I'm looking it up, but you said so. Isopod. I do like animals. Okay, so I got to stay on track here with this subject, though. Because this is the solo travel boot camp that I couldn't get going, and technically the audio didn't work earlier today, so I want to give this information out to everybody. Yes, I did get that, Judy. Okay, so continuing on, I want to talk about the flights because there's such difference in flights. So here's the thing. Start looking about 6 months ahead of time before your trip, because you're going to see some deals that you're not going to see at another time. The other time to look is a week before you go. I've done that too, but I don't really recommend it, because if you have any doubts about getting there and you're worried or anxious, it's better just to have the ticket. And here's the thing that I sometimes forget to tell people. When you get the ticket, you're going. So even if you do nothing else, buy the ticket. That means you're going. You can start saving up money. You can look forward to it. So I got my ticket last week for Europe, and now I can look forward to it every single day, and I'm saving money every day. So that's what I'm doing. I'm working here in California, doing photography and leading paid speaking programs for writing, photography, and solo travel. I just did a whole bunch of solo travel workshops for the libraries in San Mateo County. Okay, so if you don't have any questions about flights, let's move on to accommodation. Okay, that's a whole thing in itself. I most often use Booking.com and use the reviews. You can filter the reviews to be what's important to you. Wi-Fi, a bed, not being noisy. Put in those things, and those reviews will come up with those topics. So the whole accommodation thing is another big thing that you're going to be doing a lot of research on, because not every place is as good as the last place you stayed. So you have to put some effort into that. And then another thing that I usually don't share, but I'm going to tell you guys, is that once you start going to the same place over and over, people start to know you, and you can negotiate in cash ahead of time because they already know you. That will not work online at all. You have to be there and make a connection with a local person. But I'll tell you, once you have your boots on the ground, here's what I would recommend, and this is what I've done a lot. If I'm not sure of a new place, I'll book 2 to 4 nights in this place, and then I'll see whether I could book further, maybe because I go in the off season, or I will book up to a week. And then while I'm there, say I'm not totally thrilled with that place, I'll start looking for other places that I can stay longer if I decide, oh, I'm going to stay here a month. So this last trip to Europe, I planned out pretty much ahead of time. And I usually don't do that, but actually there was a lot of good things about that because I knew that I was going to this apartment at that time. And then if you fall in love with places, you want to go back. You don't always want to be exploring and finding new places. So I return a lot to the same places that I enjoy. I've been going every year to Sicily since 2018. I only missed 1 year, and I'll be going back again. So everybody's different. Some people like to move around a lot more than I do. And I used to move around a lot more. Like I've done a 6-month solo overland trip all through South America, from Colombia all the way down to Argentina and Brazil by myself. And I have not been to Japan yet, and I do want to go there. And I've heard that's a good country to go by yourself. I've met a lot of Japanese people traveling. And I've also done 18 months in Asia by myself to 5 different countries and spent a lot of time in Thailand, India, Nepal, Bali, and Cambodia. So I like to be longer in one place. And I've also heard great stuff about Japan's food and how clean it is and how orderly and organized, so I highly recommend. Oh, and I'm going to mention now that I do the one-on-one consultations, and I also am leading a Sicily retreat in February. I'll have the link below this, so you can go look at the pictures and see the description. So it's a 1-week photography retreat, but there's going to be a lot of eating and drinking and having fun and laughing, and there's only 6 people. So, and it's February 2026. So let me know if you're interested in that. And if you're planning a trip and you want to go in the next like 10 months, you should start planning now because there's a lot of research that you have to do about the flights, the accommodation. Okay, so back to accommodation. I've stayed in some doozies. And you know why? It's because you don't know until you get there what you're really going to be dealing with. So you have to give yourself some grace to maybe it looks like the pictures and you get to the apartment and it looks like the pictures, but then something goes horribly wrong, like a dog that's barking 24/7. That's happened to me. In addition, construction that's happening on the other side of the wall. No, you can't hear any of that when you book it on Airbnb. I think that was the last time I used Airbnb. I'm using booking.com more, or making direct contact with the owners because I know them, or what else I've been using? Oh, just doing it when I'm there. There's a couple of hotels I stay in Paris that I like very much. They're not expensive. I do not stay in hostels anymore. I used to do that and I just can't get to sleep. Plus, I like to have my own kitchen. I want to do my own cooking. Thank you for the hearts. That makes me so happy. It's so fun to cook in Italy because what I didn't know the first time I went there was that the produce is so fresh that a tomato tastes like a tomato. The bread, the gelato, the meat, the fruit, everything is amazing. Thank you for the love. I appreciate that. So, you fall in love with countries. So something's going to, oh, thank you, Judy. Something is going to hit you that you love, and you're going to want to probably go back to that country over and over. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, I've already been to that country, but it's like, but you haven't really been to it besides just being there for a couple days or like a week, and you're not really going to experience the way that you could when you go to stay somewhere for a month or 2 months, which is what I'm doing now. I do that in Italy, and it gives you a totally different experience because you can actually start making friends. So, highly recommend. Okay, accommodation. So let me finish with that because that's very important. So you want to kind of set your budget for what you can afford. Sometimes you'll have to pay more because you want it in a certain neighborhood. Oh, here's a tip. The thing I like about booking.com too is that it will show you the neighborhood where it is. So you can go look it up on Google Maps and see if it's close enough to the things that you want. Now, I like to be more in the center so I can get to things more easily. But now that I've been traveling a lot, I can figure out, oh, okay, well, that's going to be a little bit of a longer walk, but I don't mind because I want to be near this church or that ocean side or this Mediterranean Sea or this something. So you'll be able to see on Google Maps what exactly is around that accommodation and then read every single review. I'm not kidding, especially the ones that you filtered, because you're going to find that not every place is wonderful. So that's why I don't really recommend booking a whole month somewhere, because you don't really know until you get there if it's brand new. Yeah, I like Chinese food too. And I'll tell you something. I was in Paris last time, staying in the 12th arrondissement, and it was more of a local kind of area. And I found Vietnamese food, I found Japanese food, and these were all not very expensive. So those were the two places I went. I'm from upstate New York. So I was born in upstate New York, but I've spent most of my adult life in California and have traveled to 34 countries just in the past 20 years. And so I'm not really about like ticking off all these countries. I like to discover new countries, but I also like to go back to the ones. Yeah, I'm traveling solo. I'm traveling by myself. Because when you're traveling solo, and I also lead retreats, and I have this, well, I'm not going to answer personal questions like that in public. So we're talking about solo travel, and I'm going to stay on that topic. So, what I like to do is going to a neighborhood that I really like that has more a local kind of feel and has restaurants that aren't like these 5-star. I mean, there actually was like this Michelin star restaurant, but you don't have to go to those all the time. You can just look at what the local people are doing. And if you see local people at a place, then you should go there because they know what's going on. And I found this bar around the corner, Baron Rouge, that was like amazing and had all these kegs of wine that were only like 4 and 5 euros, which is pretty low cost per glass. And oysters. So, you want, and then I could walk to Père Lachaise Cemetery where Jim Morrison is buried, and Orson Welles, and Isadora Duncan, and Colette, and all these not Edith Piaf, all these famous people, and it's a beautiful cemetery. Oh my God. So you want to be in the right neighborhood. So, okay, so think about that, and you want to have the right price. Oh, and I'll tell you another thing about accommodation. I stayed on the French Riviera in last January, for a week for $450. for a little tiny studio, and it was really nice. I could cook and walk to the Mediterranean Sea. And then I went back in April on my way back home, and guess what? The price was now over $1,000 for the very same room. So that's what I mean about going in the off season. I'm not going to pay twice as much when I know I could get it for half. So yeah, I'm just talking about solo travel. I'm not going to be giving out my personal phone number. So if you're looking for a date, you can go somewhere else and look for one because it's not going to be me. Okay, so continuing on, I had to take care of that. I have one-to-one consultations, and if you would like to do a paid consultations, I'm happy to do that, but that's what I can offer you. Okay, so the accommodation is a big thing in solo travel. So I recommend trying some places out for not a whole month, maybe up to a week, and then you can make your decision because you might find something really wonderful once you're there. Okay, so another thing I wanted to mention about the flights, when you're on a long haul flight, you want to buy your seat because, like me, I want to get up. I want to be on an aisle seat because I want to be able to get up and walk around, but it's not the best seat for sleeping. And then another tip is if you get a seat way in the back, sometimes what happens is those seats aren't as desirable, so you end up with an empty seat next to you, which has happened to me many, many times. Okay, so another thing you want to research is how you're going to get from the airport to your hotel or apartment. So you want to be sure you've got that in place so you don't end up being scammed, because people get scammed on taxis from the airport, and not every country has Uber either. Okay, so let's be on that scams, robberies, and mishaps. Okay, so first of all, if you want to get money out of your ATM, you should get a Charles Schwab credit card. Charles Schwab, you can get it online. You get a credit card and then you have an account where you can put money into it, and then you get that money out when you're overseas, and it doesn't cost, they don't charge you. They actually pay the bank fees, and those can be quite high if you don't have that. I've paid a lot of money for getting cash out of ATMs, which I no longer have to now because I have that Charles Schwab card. So what I do is I start saving up, and that money is in there, ready to deploy when I'm over there. And then it's also a credit card too. So they'll save you a lot of money to do that. Okay, so let's talk about tipping. Okay, so this is what I've seen after 7 trips to Europe, 7 or 8. They don't have a tipping culture like we do in the United States. So you don't have to feel like, oh, you gotta pay 20% more. That's not a thing there. Now, if you go to a highly touristy place, of course it's going to be appreciated, but you really don't have to do it because they actually pay their workers a decent wage, which is not what's happening over here. So, in the United States. So, think about that, and then always have some cash because you might want to use it at a food market. There's really good food markets where it's like an open air fresh market that the farmers are coming to with their seafood and produce and all kinds of things. There's an amazing one in Syracuse, Sicily, where I'm going to be doing my retreat, which I'll have the link below. It's a week-long retreat. It includes accommodation, 7 days with me in Sicily, and I'm teaching how to do photography and take wonderful pictures, and there's all the restaurants are vetted. The hotel's really nice. And you can walk everywhere and it's safe. So another thing to consider is local transportation. I really don't rent cars in Europe or anywhere. I have a car here in California and I do a lot of driving, so I really like to take some time off. If I feel like I want to have a glass of wine, I can just relax. I don't have to worry about parking. So consider that it's going to be much easier to get around in Europe to use public transportation because the ferries are connected to the buses, which are connected to the trains. Everything. Oh, hi, Truth is speaking. Thanks for joining us. We're talking about solo travel around the world. And particularly in midlife, although a lot of people listen to me that are younger, midlife is a special time because you're going into this time where maybe you don't have your parents anymore, or your children are grown up, or you have more freedom, and you don't need to do it at this 5-star luxury level. And I have done it at that level. That's how I started out traveling, taking luxurious trips and staying in these really fancy resorts for ridiculous amounts of money. I was working a lot in Silicon Valley with my photography business, and I was earning a very high income. So that was the only kind of traveling I knew about. But when I discovered this, when my son started traveling at age 17, he taught me how to actually travel at a different way, where you can do your own cooking, where you're more immersed in the culture. And that's just so much better. So, like, for the price of what I would spend to go to Hawaii in the late 1990s, I now spend for like 2 months of my trip to Europe, which is kind of crazy, but I had a good time and it was fun. And I'm glad that I did have the luxury time, because it's interesting when you compare it to doing it more of a mid-range level of living more like a person that lives in that place, and find out that it's actually more fun because you're not at this level of, oh, you're just a tourist and you're going to be gone in a couple of days. You're still a tourist, of course, but you're in a neighborhood where people are living that live there. So you're going to run into these people as you're renting your apartment. So think about that. And that's what's so great about staying longer, not staying in a hotel. And I still stay in hotels in places where I know I'm not going to be able to find the kind of apartment I want. Like, I haven't found an apartment in Paris in a location that I wanted to be in. Oh, once I did actually rent a room in a former airline, a hostess. That's not what they call them anymore. She had a beautiful Parisian apartment, and she rented out one room in her apartment, and that was about $100. I did have to share a toilet, and I do like having my own bathroom. So I didn't do that again, but there was a kitchen. She let me use it. She's a very nice lady. So if you want to do that, there's certainly a lot of possibility with that. You just, it's kind of hit or miss with the person that you're actually going to be living with. So there was only 2 nights, and it was a pretty decent neighborhood too. Yeah, I solo travel. So this is about solo traveling, and if you want to solo travel too, I'm giving you advice because I've been solo traveling for 20 years, and I have been solo to 34 countries. So we covered accommodation, flights, and it's really your mindset. Like, a lot of people say, oh, I don't have time, I've got to do this, blah, blah, blah. Like, you can come up with a lot of reasons not to do it. And, this is controversial, but I got to say, you're going to die eventually. And if you didn't get to do all these things that you wanted to do, you're going to feel regret that you didn't get to do them. And no one's going to make it happen for you. Like, some people say, oh, well, no one will travel with me. It's like, well, then just go by yourself. Like, I go by myself and I have a wonderful time. And here's the thing, when you're by yourself, it's much easier to make friends because you're not with anybody else that can kind of hold you back or push you to do things you don't want to do. You get to gauge this person that you met right in front of you. And not everybody that approaches you, you're going to want to be friends with, of course. In fact, let's talk about safety right now. Sometimes the most outgoing people will approach you and they do not have good intentions. So, what I do is gauge the energy of that person in the first like 5 seconds of talking to them. And if I don't get a good feeling, even if they act all nice, I don't continue the conversation. Just trust your gut every single minute because you are going to have people try to scam you. And I've had it happen. I've been scammed, but I've also had people attempt to scam me, but because I had more experience, I could tell they were doing it. So you have to be open to really trusting your gut because that's going to warn you. I promise you. It will tell you not to go down this street, don't talk to that person. And, you know, people do come up to you. But there's a lot of people that will be coming up to you that are perfectly nice and could turn out to be a best friend. Oh, so here's the way to meet some decent people. This is what I've been doing more in the past like 5-6 years. If I'm not doing, I've done a lot of volunteer projects. So I've met lovely people in Thailand, India, Nepal, Argentina, that way, because you're immersed in the culture because of what you're doing. That's a whole nother session. But what you can do is go to meetups in these places because there's always expats. If you want to go to that place and you've heard it's wonderful, there's usually expats there, unless you want to go to a super tiny town and there's not really anybody that speaks your language. So there's meetups and there's Facebook groups and there's all kinds of things online that you can join. And then they have in-person events. So I went to this in-person event in Syracuse, Sicily. They say Syracuse. And it was really fun. I met a lot of nice people that lived there, also some travelers. And and then I found out about this language. It was free. You just would go and buy coffee, and it would be a conversational Italian language practice thing. And so, yeah, that's great that you have figured out church or casino to meet people. I was going to a church for a while. And that's another thing you could do when you're traveling. You could go to a church, but if they're not speaking your language, that's going to be tough. So the meetups and the Facebook groups are actually, I've done it myself, so that's why I can recommend it. So then at this meetup place, this meetup in Syracuse, Sicily, I found out about the conversational Italian group that meets twice a week. So I went twice, and it was really fun, and I learned some Italian, and I'll go back. It was fun. So, okay, so are there any other questions? I think the one thing I'm going to include now are talking about tours. So the one I'm doing is a retreat in Sicily, and I'll have the link below, and I'd love to talk with you more about it. It's going to be fun. There's testimony. I've done it several times already, and only 6 people. So we're going to be taking pictures, eating and drinking, and seeing beautiful architecture, and taking pictures of people, and having a blast. because Sicily is one of the most beautiful places in the world. I'm not looking for a boyfriend on here, so I'm not going to be following your guidance. Okay, so let's see, tours. Okay, so if you're thinking of doing a tour, highly recommend looking at reviews, making sure the person has a lot of experience. And this is what I find sometimes when I look on these sites online, that the people aren't qualified to be teaching the tours. Oh, and I wanted to recommend, I was asked to start the photography program on Airbnb experiences in 2017 for San Francisco. So I taught photography, and I still do occasionally, but I teach privately. I teach private sessions, and I also teach my own retreats. So I'll have the link below for that too, because you can go and see my 5-star reviews. So with Airbnb experiences, you don't have to stay in an Airbnb. I don't think they did a good enough job marketing the experiences, but they're highly vetted. So they asked me to do that program. And there's actually, I think, too many photographers on there, but when I started, there were just 4. And then you can do Airbnb experiences all around the world, and it isn't just that they sign up these tour operators. You have to show that you're a professional, you've been doing it a long time, you know your city. It isn't just, oh, I'm doing this to make money. So use those. I can recommend it because I've also done experiences with other people, not just my own, and they're really good. So be careful when you're booking these day tours and find out if, you know, really read the reviews, find out how experienced they are, because you want to go with somebody that knows what they're talking about. Oh, thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate that. And you've been following me. You subscribe to my channel? And oh, and I wanted to say, hey, please like and share, because that lets a lot of more people know about my stories. And thank you for saying my stories are a gem. I really appreciate that. That's beautiful. Thank you, Truth is Speaking. So I'm going to sign off now unless there's another question. And I hope you get out there and travel, because I'm on a mission to help people to travel. I want to see you out traveling the world and changing your life, because, you know, we don't know how much more time we have left here. Well, you're going to get a lot of good information if you subscribe, because I have videos on where I am in the world, and I also give a lot of advice about life and traveling the world, because I've been doing it for 20 years. So come on over. I'd love to see you. And you can connect with me here. And if you want to also connect with even more stories, go to my Substack newsletter. You can be a free subscriber on that. And I'll put the link below too. Yeah, I have 6 books that I wrote, and the link will be for that too. And 5 of them are on solo travel. So if you are thinking about traveling and you want to get inspired, get one of those books. You can get ebooks, audiobooks, print books. Because, you know, it's fun. It's like your aunt who wrote a book. When people write about their travels and it's engaging and it tells you about a place you've never been, it makes you want to go there yourself. Like, that's a whole different world. Like, when I land in a country, even if I've been there before, I feel like I'm landing on a new planet. It's amazing. So bravo to your aunt. So I hope I see you on the channel again. And thank you for subscribing and liking and sharing. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.